The air hung thick with the scent of crushed vegetation and fear. Claire Deering, her white suit now stained with mud and streaks of green, watched in horror as the Indominus Rex, a monstrosity of engineered rage, swatted Delta aside like a discarded toy. Echo and Charlie were already gone, casualties in this brutal ballet of dominance. Blue, the last of her raptor pack, snarled defiance, but even her fierce loyalty wouldn't be enough. This wasn't a contained asset breach anymore. This was a massacre. And it was her fault. She had championed bigger, scarier, more profitable. She had ignored the warnings, the ethical compromises, the inherent instability of playing God. Now the consequences were tearing Jurassic World apart, one dinosaur, one life, at a time. Owen Grady, her rugged, exasperating, and infuriatingly right raptor trainer, was somewhere in that chaos, trying to protect Zack and Gray, her nephews, from the Indominus's wrath. She knew, with a certainty that chilled her to the bone, that their chances were dwindling with each passing moment. A desperate plan, born of utter hopelessness and a primal need to protect, clawed its way into her consciousness. It was insane, reckless, and probably suicidal. But it was the only chance they had. She grabbed Miss Ronnie's forgotten tablet from a demolished security jeep, its screen cracked but still functional. "Lowry!" she barked into the calm, her voice trembling but resolute. "Get me the access codes for Sector 5. Maximum security override." Lowry Crothers, the park's neurotic but surprisingly competent control room operator, sputtered in disbelief. "Sector 5? Claire, are you out of your mind? That's where they are. Just do it, Lowry. Lives are at stake. Owen, Zack, Gray, they won't survive otherwise." The silence that followed was agonizing. Finally, Lowry's voice crackled back, laced with fear. "Codes are transmitting. But Claire, you know what you're unleashing, right? You can't control them." "I know," she said, her voice barely a whisper. "But maybe, just maybe, they can control her." The tablet beeped, displaying the authorization codes. Her hands shaking, Claire inputted the sequence. Override confirmed. The metal doors of Sector 5, buried deep beneath the earth, groaned open. First Rexy. Tyrannosaurus Rex. The Queen. She had proven her worth before, a reluctant savior in the first Jurassic Park crisis. Claire released her holding pen, and with a thunderous roar, the Rex lumbered into the open, her ancient eyes blinking in the sunlight. Next, Spinosaurus. Larger than Rexy, more aggressive, a predator designed for the swamp, but adaptable to other environments. She unlocked its enclosure. The Spinosaurus crashed through the weakened walls like they were paper, its massive sail rippling in the humid air. It let out a piercing howl, a sound that echoed through the jungle and sent flocks of birds spiraling into the sky. Finally, Giganotosaurus. Newer to Jurassic World, but no less terrifying. Even bigger than both Rexy and Spinosaurus, its aggression levels bordered on psychopathic. She hesitated for only a moment, then released this final solution to her nightmare. With the prehistoric titans now free, Claire raced toward the park's main street, the sounds of chaos escalating around her. She saw Owen, Zack, and Gray trapped in a crumbling building, the Indominus looming before them, its jaws parting in a silent snarl. "Owen!" she screamed, her voice lost in the roar of the Indominus. Then a new roar. A familiar roar. The ground trembled. Dust rained down. The Indominus Rex turned, its reptilian eyes widening slightly as Rexy emerged from the jungle, a living fossil from a forgotten age. The Indominus hissed, a sound of both challenge and surprise. It had been engineered to be superior, but standing before the T-Rex, the original apex predator, a flicker of uncertainty crossed its face. Rexy roared again, a primal challenge, and charged. The two titans collided with a force that shook the very foundations of Jurassic World. But this was not a fair fight. Not anymore. The Spinosaurus, drawn by the commotion, burst from the trees, its razor-sharp claws ripping at the Indominus's flanks. Then the Giganotosaurus, even larger and more vicious than the Indominus, lumbered onto the scene, and its jaws opened to reveal serrated teeth. The Indominus, caught between three ancient killing machines, fought with a ferocity born of desperation. It slashed, bit, and roared, but it was outnumbered and outmatched by sheer brute force. Claire watched, her heart pounding, as the three giants tore into the Indominus. It was a brutal, savage spectacle, a fight for survival in its purest form. The Indominus managed to land a few blows, gashing Rexy's flank and snapping a fin off of the Spinosaurus. But it wasn't nearly enough. Finally, with a sickening crunch, the Giganotosaurus clamped its jaws around the Indominus's neck, severing its spinal cord. The hybrid dinosaur collapsed, its reign of terror finally over. The silence that followed was deafening. The three giants stood over their fallen foe, panting and bloody, their eyes gleaming with predatory satisfaction. Claire didn't dare move. She had unleashed forces she couldn't control, and she was at their mercy. Then, Rexy turned her massive head and looked at Claire. For a moment, their eyes met. Claire saw not malice, but something akin to recognition. Perhaps, in some primeval corner of her brain, Rexy remembered Claire as the one who had opened the door. With a final, earth-shattering roar, Rexy turned and lumbered back into the jungle. The Spinosaurus and the Giganotosaurus followed, disappearing into the dense foliage. Claire ran towards the building where Owen, Zack, and Gray were trapped. She found them shaken but unharmed, Owen shielding them with his body. "Claire," Owen said, his voice hoarse. "What did you do?" "I did what I had to do," she replied, tears streaming down her face. "I saved you." The aftermath was chaos. Jurassic World was in ruins, its dream of controlled prehistoric life shattered. The survivors were evacuated, leaving behind a graveyard of broken dreams and the resurrected giants who now roamed free. The world would never be the same. In the days that followed, Claire and Owen found themselves drawn together by the shared trauma, the shared responsibility. They were forced to confront the consequences of their actions, the ethical compromises they had made. The incident at Jurassic World became a turning point. Discussions about genetic engineering, dinosaur cloning, and the ethics of playing God raged across the globe. New regulations were put in place, research was shut down, and the world vowed to never repeat the mistakes of Jurassic World. But in the depths of the jungle, the dinosaurs still roamed. Rexy, Spinosaurus, and Giganotosaurus, the ancient rulers of the earth, had reclaimed their domain. And Claire knew, with a chilling certainty, that they would always be there, a constant reminder of humanity's hubris and the untamable power of nature. Years later, Claire found herself working with Owen to establish a sanctuary for rescued dinosaurs, a place where they could live in peace, far from the prying eyes of scientists and the deadly ambitions of corporations. She had learned her lesson the hard way. Some things should be left buried. Some doors should never be opened. But sometimes, when the wind blew just right, she could still hear the roar of the Rex, a primal sound that echoed through the years, a reminder of the day she unleashed the monsters to save the ones she loved. And she knew deep down that she would do it again. Because sometimes, the only way to fight a monster is to unleash an even bigger one. Even if it meant risking everything. Even if it meant unleashing hell.